live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. It is Wednesday, March the 6th. We're going in depth tonight. A little Wednesday evening quarterback, if you will. The results from Super Tuesday. Some of the problems that people experienced at some of the Utah GOP caucus locations. If you experience this, weigh in. As we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us during the show. Use the hashtag or just send a message, because you weren't holding back last night on social media if you were at a caucus location. So you can find us on Facebook and X and Instagram, even TikTok if that's your preferred platform. Send a message to weigh in. So let's talk about it. Long lines, systems crashing, frustrated voters at some precinct Utah GOP caucus locations there. And for some it went smooth, but some locations had a hard time. Voters didn't really feel like they had a chance to be heard. Emma Riley been looking into this and digging into kind of what happened last night on a grander scale. Emma, we were talking about this before the show here, but who did you talk to today and what did they say in reaction to what went down last night, specifically really on the GOP side here with the Republican caucuses?
Well, I did speak with multiple voters, and they all agreed that they think that their votes didn't even count yesterday because of how long the lines were, how much registration they had to do. Even though they had pre-registered, they still had to register again, and they were having a lot of problems with the systems. So I did speak with Davis County GOP chair, and he did tell me that he said that it went smoothly yesterday, but there are still some ways that they can improve. But there were a lot of difficulties, and a lot of people I spoke to agreed that they think that they should go back to a primary. But I did speak with the lieutenant governor about going back to a primary and also her role in all of this. And the truth is, she doesn't really have a role. It's the party's responsibility. So if they do want to go back to a primary, that's something that they need to tell their party leaders, because they could have chosen that like the Democrats did.
Emma, it's interesting you mentioned the lieutenant governor, the chief election officer here in the state, but doesn't really have that role here in this part of the process right here. Definitely has the oversight for the Democrats in terms of a primary election being held, ballots being mailed out and being returned. But what did she talk to you a little bit more about today in terms of what happened with the GOP? And she even went to a precinct location last night.
Well, she did say that, this is the party's responsibility to select a primary, like the Democrats did. Last night, the caucus location that she was at, she said that it went pretty smoothly, but, it's pretty standard that during caucus meetings, things do kind of move slowly. They are always kind of like that. I asked her if in past years they had been like this, and she said that, yes, even in 2016, the caucus night kind of went similarly.
But I do need to be really clear about something. What happened at caucus, the presidential preference poll, it wasn't an election. It was just a poll. It was like a straw poll. And I think that's where the confusion has come in a lot, is people expected it to be run like an election, and that's just not what it was.
And if voters, can they still file something with Lieutenant Governor's office if they have an issue, or?
No, I mean, there's literally no oversight from my office over the party. They have their processes. The county parties really kind of ran the processes in their counties, at the precincts in their counties. And yeah, there were some long lines and some frustration with some of the voters, some of the caucus attendees yesterday. But there were places also where it ran fairly smoothly. Caucus night is never quick, usually, at least not in my experience. So this is a grassroots process, and if Republicans prefer having a primary election for president, that's probably something that they should let their party leaders know for next time, because the party could have chosen to do a primary election that the state would have paid for, like the Democrats did.
Yeah, and like she said, and like we were saying, she, this is their choice to have a primary, and they chose to do a caucus meeting, so.
Emma, thank you. I know you spoke to a number of people tonight for this coverage, so if you missed any of it, you can find Emma's coverage coming up shortly on our website, KUTV.com. Emma, thank you very much. Part of our coverage yesterday here and what we discussed for our Super Tuesday conversation, we spoke to a superb individual for Super Tuesday coverage. We had fun with that in our conversation. Former Governor Gary Herbert weighing in on the caucus format and really how things are not as efficient and perhaps easy for people to get out. He also really leaned in to the process in selecting a president here in the United States. Take a listen.
I think we have more focus on Utah if we have a presidential primary in a classical sense rather than a neighborhood caucus night. That being said, I've been openly critical about the presidential election process in itself. I'm not sure it's given us the best and brightest over time that we get to choose from. I find it a little bit offensive that after the Iowa and New Hampshire, and why do they go first and second in the nation? Who knows? It makes a lot of money for those respective states, but who cares? And so after 2 states, we have pundits. The election's over. 48 other states haven't had a chance to vote. We're already calling it. So something wrong with the process if we don't have all 50 states and the 5 territories with an opportunity to have a meaningful impact on the outcome and be able to vote. So I'm going to probably do a little research and come up with maybe an op-ed because I've complained about it. I may want to see if there's any other that feel the same way I do, that the process is flawed and needs to have some reform.
I'm coining today's Super Wednesday because the superb Heidi Hatch is here. No one better to really talk about what is happening in the landscape of Utah politics than Heidi with the Take Two podcast, so you can check out every week. But I wanted to get your impressions on what you saw last night. When I left my shift here at 2 News, things were fine. Then they quickly turned into not being fine, and you were here on the clock.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is I have reported at the caucus on caucus night, and when you're there you usually get the idea of the school you're at. You're at one caucus, you're at one location, and you see what's happening there. And I remember from 2016 being at a caucus location in Taylorsville. Everything went smoothly. It seemed fine to me as I was reporting in the field. I got a wider view yesterday because I was looking online as people were starting to report what they saw, and there was a drastic difference. Everything was going perfectly smoothly, or in the exact opposite direction where there was mayhem. People didn't feel like they were going to get in. They got frustrated and left. Other people said they couldn't get onto the website, which obviously couldn't handle the influx of people. So the good news is they had people turning out wanting to be there. But in my mind, when I look at this, it seems like there wasn't enough education leading up to this. If they wanted to do it in the way they did, and they were trying to use technology, which they hadn't used in the past, there had to be more education up front, because in the past they have this big booklet that has names on it, and someone sitting at the front, old school style, with a pencil and a ruler, going down to your name, checking it off. And they changed and tried to make it, they thought, smoother online, but hadn't thought through the fact that people, right when they were walking out the door, were going to go online, realized they had to fill stuff out, and that's when things imploded. But it didn't everywhere, because some of those caucus locations, you'd see 70 to 100 people. People went in smoothly, they voted, they were out in record time. So a lot of people had a great night.
Overall,
Some people did not.
We reported on the caucus conundrum here that unfolded at a number of places. The website was very easy. I looked at the Utah GOP's website. It's pretty straightforward. They outline the absentee option, if you will. Someone has to bring it in, then a copy of the license.
Super annoying, though.
It is annoying because it really is, in a way, forcing you to really make this your only priority of the evening. So you got young kids like myself, you got all these things. How do you dedicate that time to physically go, where if you are in a traditional primary sense where you have a ballot, I'm on my way into work, you drop it off, you head in, your day is done. This is really like appointment viewing. Just to have your voice heard a little bit.
That's right. And right now, as we're looking, they're still counting right now. I think 12% of the vote from the caucus is still out, which probably at this point is unacceptable. We've learned to accept that. We've got mail-in ballots, because if they come in on the day of election, they have to feed them through the system. My understanding is they should have just had those vote tallies and totals from each precinct, why they're not in and where the problem still is today. I'm not sure, but this isn't the first time. 2016, both Republicans and Democrats had the same kind of problems with other things going on. And so there have been issues before. There will continue to be issues, but only 10% voter turnout is not great for a caucus.
So in all, you've done this before,
Yeah.
and you've seen things like this play out. But what stood out to you from last night? Did you learn anything, see anything different? Did it solidify your feelings on how certain things should or should not maybe go for the public's best interest?
I think there is an older generation, and I think party insiders who really like the idea of the grassroots effort to do the caucus. But I think most people in general, just because life is busy, like you said, soccer games, dinner, other things, or maybe you just don't want to discuss politics with your neighbor because it's such a contentious world we live in.
That's why we don't discuss that with Heidi's my neighbor today.
Yes.
We don't have that conversation.
No, and so I just think that if you want more people to participate, then you do the presidential primary. The question is, do they want more people to participate? Because both Republicans and Democrats at times have chosen the caucus, and usually you'll get the extremes of the party, people to the left or to the right of the party. If you look at 2016, Ted Cruz was the winner, not Donald Trump. And then on the left, it was Bernie Sanders. And so sometimes you're getting these outliers of the party. I'm not saying all caucus goers are, but sometimes you get an older generation instead of a cross mix of everyone. And also people who might be, to those far right or far left. So it may be a choice that they're doing it that way. But I do think overall people are frustrated. I think the entire process is frustrating, as the Governor Herbert, former governor, said. We're at a point where more people want to have a say. And the whole system is just kind of annoying when you look at nationally how it slow rolls to Utah.
Will you be talking about this on the Take Two podcast this week?
We will be, and it's going to be a busy week because there was a lot that passed in the legislative session that we didn't get to talk about, hundreds of bills. We'll be talking about this, and then tomorrow night we have the State of the Union address, which I'm sure will give us all kinds of new fodder.
What a week.
What a week.
So check out Take Two.
Yes.
Goes online when?
On Friday, usually drops around 4 or 5.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's some appointment listening.
Yes,
Thanks,
it is.
Heidi.
Thanks
of
for
course,
having
we
me.
want to hear from you. Scan the QR code on your screen to weigh in on our poll question. Did the Utah GOP make the right call to go with a caucus rather than a presidential primary? Right now, the majority of you, 71%. By the way, we can tell that you have weighed in based on the number. It's a little more unique if you see 25-75 because you might say 4 people have voted. But this is 71% saying no, it limited voters' access. 22% also saying no, it was unorganized, and then a combined 7% saying yes, it was the right call to go with a caucus. So whether or not that changes some things in the future, that is up to the GOP to obviously look into. However, if you'd like to weigh in, grab that phone, scan the QR code that is no longer on your screen, but will probably show up at some point. As we head into the election season, stay with KUTV2 News. We've got the latest on poll numbers, interviews with members of our local delegation, also some really great people to talk about this from perspective, from Heidi Hatch to Brian Malahy and members of our team here that have a lot of great insight to add to a lot of our coverage here. So all of that you can find also on our KUTV YouTube page. And now that we've gone through all of that, we're getting to the really good stuff because Sean Kelly is here.
That's right. And I'm here to bring you the daily reminder of springing forward.
Yep, change those batteries in the smoke
That's
detectors
right,
and
yeah.
check the things and whatever else you do the twice a year sort of thing.
Right.
This is the perfect time to do it.
And it's a little sad we lose that hour of sleep, but this is our reward right here.
Yeah.
7:30.
I'm sure people are just
Sunset?
devastated.
Those
They're
late
devastated.
sunsets.
I think that's
nice.
really awesome too,
Yeah.
because we can get off of work some nights, you can wander around, take the dog for the walk,
right.
depending on your schedule, but it really does expand the day a little bit for many people that work that sort of that 9 to 5 or whatever.
Right.
It really gives you a chance to get out, get some fresh air, and get rid of that what sort of cabin fever
Yeah.
feeling from winter.
And we're about a month and a half away from 8 p.m. sunset.
All right,
So we'll take that.
all right.
All right, let's get you outside. Let's show you what's going on across the area. We had a few snow showers out there along I-80. Up in the mountains, seeing a few scattered snow showers, but the majority of it not going to accumulate, not a big deal. It's also a little bit warmer out there across much of the area. Heber sitting at 45, Cedar City at 52, some cold conditions in the Logan area, but generally speaking, it is nicer than yesterday. We've got some scattered to widely scattered showers down in southern Utah, up towards the north along the Wasatch Front. Starting to dry things out. We still have an isolated shower or two further up towards the north, but generally seeing quiet conditions overnight. Tomorrow morning, however, we could see a quick burst of some rain and maybe even some light snow into the southern Wasatch Front area. south of Provo. Maybe a dusting to an inch will be possible there and slushy morning commute. So watch out for that. Otherwise, as we head into the afternoon tomorrow, the best chance of scattered rain and snow will be down towards the southern half of the state before we dry things out completely by tomorrow night. Look what happens when we jump to Friday. Dry conditions, dry but cold. But then heading into Saturday and Sunday, we'll continue with sunshine and warmer temperatures. And then all eyes will be on another storm heading our way into Monday. Perhaps another storm after that by next Wednesday. Not a big system that we're seeing here through the next day and a half. Again, mainly light in intensity. For those mountains, maybe an inch or two. Brian Head could be the winner with tomorrow's snow that we're expecting there. We're down into the 30s and 20s overnight. Tomorrow, though, we're still looking at a fairly chilly day, not quite as warm as our temperatures today, reaching into the 50s. We're not going to be that nice. But St. George weather after we get through the scattered showers tomorrow, breezy conditions for Friday. And look at that weekend forecast, close to 70 degrees as we get into Sunday and Monday of next week. And then along the Wasatch Front, we'll see temperatures here close to 60 degrees on Sunday. And then we'll watch out for a little bit more active weather by next week.
Yeah, to be expected.
Not
We're not
bad.
out of this flow yet.
Not yet, but I'll take some 50s and close to 60 degrees. That's
Feels
nice
good
weather.
because if you want the chill, you just got to go up. That's how it works here.
Drive 30 minutes.
We kind of have the best of both worlds, especially if you're like, valley-based, right? And you're sick of the seasons. You just stay low. But if you're like me or like you and you want a little extra taste of the
That's
greatest
right.
snow on earth, you just
action.
head on up somewhere and there you go.
The goal in a couple months will be to ski in the morning and golf in the afternoon.
Right, and we're going to do that together.
Let's
That's
do
a
it.
that's
Let's
a
do it.
promise.
All right.
Remember to download our 2 News weather app to know about the changes in your neighborhood. Get updated forecast, live radar right on your phone. The app is handy. It is also free to download. As we mentioned, check in with that app if you are on the go, because if anything changes here, that's the place to be. Any final thoughts here? You made it through Super Tuesday. Not something you need to care about really in the weather front.
That's
right.
right.
For me, I was out there. We were talking. I was getting blown away here. The
Right.
winds are still prevalent, but the temps are just dipping. As soon as that sun goes
Yeah.
down, even if we have those 50s, it's a reminder that we're not in the spring and summer flow.
It's that
just
time
yet.
of year. It's going to be up and down temperature swings. We've got colder weather for Friday, but then we warm up for the weekend. I'm sorry, nothing consistent here in the short range. We gotta wait a few more weeks.
I admit my poor planning faults every time I am on the air, at least on 2 News Live, talking about how I did not wear the right jacket or I did not listen to the forecast
How could
either
you?
correctly or I completely didn't listen to 3 minutes of Sean or Chase. I've done that before, so my apologies. I just need to look at that 2 News mobile app, though.
Do it.
That's how it goes. Thanks for watching 2 News Live. We are here Monday through Friday at 5:30. We went really in depth here on Super Tuesday, Wednesday evening QB edition. We got more for you tomorrow. Join us again. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, KUTV.com, and the 2 News mobile app. Watch again on YouTube in the live section. See ya.